Hey guys, Dave here, Journey the Outdoors. Got a great video for you. I took in a little bit of research that I have been looking for, building a bullpup, a SKS bullpup, and I looked around and looked around and looked around and saw all the different types and different prices and everything to build one and or buy one, and it was fairly expensive for what you would, in terms of what you would get. So I decided to build my own, and this is not the first time I've built a gun stock. So you know, I'm going to definitely get up some of the other videos or work that I've done in building gun stocks. So anyways, to move on, this bullpup, I figured was actually pretty easy to build. Only thing that was difficult about it was the trigger linkage. So here it is. I might end up cutting the barrel short. I'm not sure. I was talking to a officer about that, and it's very important, if you're going to do that, to find out what your state's minimum length on it, or the federal minimum length on the barrel can be on the type of firearm that you're building your bullpup for. And I think ours is actually 16 inches. So you take a rod and put it down the barrel, and you measure from the bolt face. In this case, the bolt face is right here, on the where the bolt meets the back of the primer. So that I will measure from there to the tip of the barrel. It should be 16 inches of minimal, and that's anything fixed to the barrel, albeit a muzzle brake or anything like that. So anyways, this is a Yugoslavian SKS in its native form, and I took it out of a tactical stock that I had with it, and I took some wood. This is actually wood. I took plyboard and actually gorilla glued it together. And I think it was three pieces of 1/2 inch. I glued them together, and then I took some cardboard and laid the gun down on top of the cardboard and traced out the form that I wanted for my bullpup, rough form. And then I kind of got the feel of it, put against my shoulder, got the feel of that cardboard to make sure that it felt right, and the position of it, the length of pull was right, and it did. So it felt right. So I decided to go ahead and move on to the next step, which was carving it out, tracing it on the wood, and then cutting it out. I used a reciprocating saw to get the rough size, and then I started sanding them down around the edges and using rotary bits to rough out the edges. So once I got that done, I was able to use a 36 grit 4-inch disc on the angle grinder to put in the carvings and the indentures along there to shape it off, so it tapers towards the bottom. And that way it fits into the shoulder nicely, kind of digs in there, so it feels solid. So when you shoot it, it's not jumping around. I put in some finger grooves there for the front grip, and then on the other side I have finger grooves for the right hand grip. The triple rail rider I already had on the firearm before, so I just transferred that over to this. I had to figure that into the design, also into the wood, because it fits very tightly around the barrel. The shell deflector, I kind of came up on a whim. I think I seen something on Google that was close to it, but There is the rear sight that flips up on the SKS. I actually took some sheet metal and formed a deflector, and then put it on, and then had a tang that went across the top of that rear sight, and then I used permanent putty, an epoxy that I wrapped around. Kind of wrapped around that rear sight, and then that became very permanent. It's very stable actually, so I can flip it up, and I can still use stripper clips to insert in the inside. You know, if I want to reload it that way. Don't think that it's actually not it's not a detachable mag. It still is, and still a detachable mag. 20 round Tapco, and it'll still take the 30s, and if you're in certain states, it'll take a 40. You know, it doesn't stop it from racking off. Yeah, buddy, that's the sound of business. So you know, it's not practical for left-sided shooters, as you can tell. It's not practical for that, but it's practical for right-sided. I've seen where some people actually welded on a opposite charging handle for the opposite side for a left-sided shooter, but I mean, I don't see any reason for doing that myself. I'm a right-handed, so I just left it like that, just for a little bit of security. I put a little strap on the back there to go over the receiver cover to hold it down in there, and there is one point on the front at which it anchors down. Now the interesting thing is the trigger mechanism. So this is a piece, this trigger mechanism is actually a piece of 1/8" steel. Okay, I traced that out with a piece of cardboard, and then from another firearm that I have. I wanted to know what I wanted to be sure I like the pull of the trigger, the shape of it, so it fits. It literally wraps around my finger. Because the pull had to be so long, I had to have the trigger wrap around my finger. So it felt solid all the way through the pull. And there's nothing in here. Chargers out, empty gun. And so the safety, you know, I could have put some safety mechanism in the front, but I decided to keep it very natural, and it's still on the back, so I cut a little opening there right over the trigger mechanism, and I could flip my safety up just like that, so I still have access to it, and I can see my trigger mechanism if I need to get in contact with that for any given reason. So the interesting part is I'm gonna go over the next part of the trigger mechanism in the next video. So I'm gonna go ahead and disassemble this, and then we'll go on to part 2. Let's just do it that way. It's much easier, so I can go ahead and take this all apart. Okay, all right, go on to